Hello, welcome to the Eclectic Reader. Listen to great books and stories while you use your eyes and hands for other things. Now here's your host, Madison Mason.
Hi, it's Madison Mason. Welcome back to The Gray Quarry Boys. This is chapter 36. The Gray Quarry Boys, chapter 36, Revenge. It was after lunch, and most people napped on the beach or splashed lazily around the lake in inner tubes, bobbing like marshmallows in punch. He arrived at the stand, taking care to avoid Richie, keeping his eye on him the whole time. Everything was under control and quiet. No kids at the jukebox, the music was off, and Tommy dozed behind the stand. Eddie quietly took out the binoculars from under the counter and scoped the lakeside until he found Valerie. He had done his job well. She hadn't moved a muscle. He scanned left until he found Richie and Sandra. It was just what he wanted to see. They were locked in a fierce embrace, their sweating faces mashed against each other in one mouth. Disgusting, he thought, to do that in front of everybody, right here in public. They were oblivious to anything but their own lust, and it showed. Well, he's not getting anything special, Eddie chuckled to himself. He'd seen Sandra make out with lots of guys that way. She was a real teaser. She never let them do anything but French her for hours on end. They would be occupied for some time, so he set to work. He walked slowly around the lake toward them, picking up pop bottles and candy wrappers as he went. He could see them rolling on the beach, locked in a scene right out of From Here to Eternity. They rolled back and forth on their towels in ecstasy, and Eddie crept closer, knowing his fate if Richie came up for air at the wrong time. Just as he neared, someone punched up 3 coins in the fountain on the jukebox. The sweet strains wafted across the lake and refired 2 impassioned lovers, making them even more oblivious. He sneaked slowly up, afraid the pounding of his heart would give him away. Long dark hairs trailed from the bottom of Sandra's bathing suit along her upper thighs, as their moans wove a sensuous counterpoint to the light melody of love in the air. How gross, Eddie thought. Silent as a spirit, he tiptoed up, their heads locked in a tongue competition. He could have set off a grenade and they wouldn't have noticed, but his heart threatened to tear itself free from its moorings in his chest. Quietly, carefully, he slipped the dead snake from the bottle crate and placed it gently on the towel where, if they ever came up for breath, their heads would lay as they gazed rapturously into each other's eyes. Eddie beat it the hell out of there to watch from the concession stand, binoculars to his bright blue eyes, and he didn't have long to wait. Someone must have run out of oxygen because something caused the lip wrestlers to break off. Like clockwork, they lay back to adore each other. Sandra's blood-solidifying shriek ripped across the afternoon like giant fingernails across a blackboard. Everything stopped. Even kids shut up as she stood hopping up and down, screaming, her hands suspended spread eagle on either side of her elongated face. Richie jumped and danced, shaking out the towels. Tommy snapped to and lurched toward the place where Sandra was howling and dancing a boogie on her tiptoes. Eddie watched the scene from behind the lenses as Tommy broke into laughter and threw the snake off into the bushes. Eddie swung the glasses over to where Valerie was now sitting up, looking at them through the black rectangles of her Ray-Bans. Then he swung back over to the scene of the crime, and a chill hit his guts and froze him. Richie was staring straight at him. He dropped the binoculars down quickly. An arm reached across the counter and punched Eddie on the shoulder. Eddie almost fainted. "What's going on, bud?" David Hansen was a good-looking guy of medium build, muscular and trim, with a diver's body, carved by a master sculptor. Eddie caught his breath and reached out to shake hands. "What do you say, David?" "Not much. You practicing what I showed you?" "Yeah." "And?" "Well, I can do the gainer okay, and my swan and jackknife are looking pretty good. I'm hanging in the air longer before I execute." These were the things David had been teaching him. I still can't get my backflip right, though. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Cool. I'll look at it later. He took his basket and headed for the showers. Eddie looked over his shoulders toward the beach, but Richie was talking head to head with Sandra, calming her. The rest of the day went without incident. The inner tubes came back one by one as kids got tired. Mothers headed home to feed exhausted families, and around 5 o'clock, Valerie came back to the concession area to shower and change. When she returned the basket to Eddie, she bent to one side, combing the water out of her shining hair. Want to walk me to my car? Eddie jumped over the counter, and she put her arm around his shoulders as they walked up the stairs to the parking lot. You be a good boy till I see you again now, you hear me? She opened the door and flopped down on the plaid seat of her black '55 Ford convertible. Ooh, hot. She looked up at Eddie and smiled sweetly. I'll miss you, honey bunch. I'll see you next week, okay? Okay. He leaned in to kiss her. Valerie took his head in her hands and kissed him warmly on his cheek. Her hair and skin were cool and bore the fragrance of flowers. He raised up to watch while she backed the car out, as if she were still pressed against his face. She smiled and waved as she turned onto the highway towards Sanford. Then she was gone among the pine trees, and the day became vacant. Eddie stood watching a minute, turned, and headed back. His heart ached already.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of The Eclectic Reader. Please go on to the next numbered episode to continue. Also, check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. If you'd like to help support the project, you can donate under Madison Mason at Patreon. And please, check out our website, kltkrdr.com, for more information.
Hi, this is Madison Mason. I want to personally thank you for listening to The Eclectic Reader and invite you to share your experience, your thoughts, and your suggestions. We have many great books lined up for the future, but if you have requests for anything that is in the public domain, please email us at kltkrdr@gmail.com.
kltkrdr@gmail.com